We analyze, we see where that bone is misaligned, the communication is not happening, and then we restore it.
Well, hello again, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Healing Hands Chiropractic Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Dawkins, and I am joined, as always, by an amazing chiropractor, an international speaker, right? And an amazing woman, Dr. Tracy Rush. How you doing, Dr. Tracy?
Wonderful today. Beautiful day in the neighborhood.
Well, we're going to have some fun today. We're not going to waste a lot of time, but we definitely want to say thank you to our listeners, and just to recognize that I was thinking about this weekend, Dr. Tracy, that for a lot of people that own their own business or are on mission, a lot of times it's easy to get tired or lose time to spend on sharing the message, right? It's like, I have so much work to do. I don't know how I'm going to be able to make time to share the message. But Dr. Tracy, we're 7 podcast episodes in now. And one thing I know that's true about you is you see your business and your practice as a platform for your message. That a lot of what you do in the practice is almost like something that you get to give away. And the work is sharing this message. And that's a hard thing to commit to, but that's what people who are on mission do. And that's people who make a great difference in the world. That's what they do. And so I just want to acknowledge you for that. And that is evident as I'm reading through some of these comments that people are leaving and how much they appreciate you. Harry Pugner 4011 said, "I'm grateful for Healing Hands. I'm aware of how much I need to be in tune with what my body is telling me. And I'm thankful that after treatment, I have less pain." That's awesome, right? One more, and then we're going to get in the podcast today. This is Wanda. She said, "Healing Hands has made a world of difference in my life. I was in tremendous pain from fibromyalgia, and doctors were not able to help me feel better. I was on so many medications that it was hard to think clearly. Dr. Tracy encouraged me to give her about 2 months of treatments 2 or 3 times a week. She said it took a long time to get in the pain I was in, and it was going to take a while before I felt better. Sure enough, around the 2-month mark, I started feeling relief. I was able to stop some of the medication I was taking and reduce the dosage on others, still continuing to see her for treatments, but only once a month or so, depending on how I'm feeling. She's my miracle worker." And that's a long comment. That's a long comment, but that's how much Wanda thinks of you. That's how grateful that she is for you. And I love that what we're doing right now, especially today, is we're empowering these folks who've had their lives changed in your practice to understand the principle of chiropractic and to be able to share with their friends and family. So a lot of special things happening in June. But last podcast, we spent time debunking the myths, right? We addressed the lies. But this week we get to talk about the truth. And we're excited to share this together. I've got, of course, 15 questions, but we're taking some liberty this week. And we're going to ask 2 personal questions. Then we're going to get into the truth, and we're going to wrap up with one fun question. And my question to you, Dr. Tracy, as I take a sip of water is, are you ready?
I am ready, and we love those comments. We love success stories. We share that at our morning staff meeting. We share that at our weekly staff meeting. That pumps us up. That gets us going. So thank you for sharing those.
Yeah, and they really are sharing. I just looked this week. This week, the data suggests 36 people shared one of those videos with someone else. 1,000 people liked one of the videos that we put out there, and we had almost 4,000 views on the latest podcast. So just incredible. We're grateful for you guys. So let's get personal, and we're gonna 2 birds with 1 stone here. What do they say? Don't kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Feed 2 birds with 1 scone. Have you heard that?
Ooh, I like that. With my cup of tea.
So June is the month of Father's Day. I'm a little partial to the month of June. My wife and daughter have birthdays in June, but then I also get to celebrate me. Hey, so Dr. Tracy, I'm giving you a chance to acknowledge the dads in your life with this first question, and that is, what is the most valuable piece of advice or lesson you've learned from a dad in your life?
So my dad didn't know he was being wise, or maybe he did know and I didn't realize it. But he always said from when I was young, do what you love and it won't feel like work.
That sounds like some wisdom right there. That sounds like some wisdom. It's, yeah, I love that. If you can do fulfilling work that you feel like you enjoy and makes a difference, it's energizing, right? You might just be more energized on the other side. I love that. I also want to acknowledge in the month of June, shout out to all the dads out there. You guys rock. But June is also June is also National Migraine and Headache Awareness Month. And if ever there was a month where chiropractors need to grab the bullhorn and get their message out there, this is the month, because Dr. Tracy, I know you can attest, hundreds, maybe thousands of people that have come to your practice and through your practice who came in with headaches and came out on the other side not having to deal with that annoying, just debilitating pain anymore, just finding a better way to health. So question number 2, in honor of that, can you share a few tips for headache sufferers out there? And if you, if you want to acknowledge our listeners that are close enough to us, right? How could they get in touch with Healing Hands Chiropractic to start the journey of no more headaches?
Wow. So headaches are nasty. I've had them. I was a teenager and we think it's normal. We think we get the normal headache, or it could happen once a week. It could happen multiple times a week or a couple of times a month. And we think, oh, this is that normal headache that we get, because that's the way society, television tells us. When you get that normal headache, take this drug. Well, I didn't know about chiropractic until I was 21, and I suffered through my teenage years with these debilitating, I'd lose days of school, I would be miserable, I'd be popping ibuprofen. And so once I found chiropractic, and the chiropractor, determined what was happening in my neck, that I had those subluxations, those misalignments in my upper neck, and started getting adjusted, and then realized I went a month without a headache. I went 2 months without a headache, and I was like, wow, oh my gosh, I didn't realize how much time I was losing dealing with not feeling good in my head, not being able to think. So for those that suffer out there, you need to get your neck checked. You need to see what's going on in this upper area. And I'm not putting down medical doctors, but not by medical doctors, because they are just going to give you another drug. That's all they're going to do. We're looking for that misalignment up there, that subluxation. And then once we correct that and the body starts keeping it there, you're going to get your life back. You're going to get your life back.
Absolutely. And I would say if you're in the Berlin, Maryland area, go see Dr. Tracy, Healing Hands Chiropractic. Even if you're not, you can reach out to us and we will help connect you with someone that can help. Because that's, like I said, we're on mission and we want to see you get healthy. And that's the end goal. So, and speaking of end goal, we're going to talk about the truth today. And what I want to do, the same way healing happens, right, Dr. Tracy? It happens above, down, inside out. We're going to start up high at 30,000 feet, looking down on health and the world that we live in, where it's broken and where chiropractic can make a difference. Looking at the body, we're going to talk about some chiropractic terms you may or may not have heard, but we're diving in, and we're starting with, Dr. Tracy, I shared this story with you earlier, but I just want to set up question number 1 here as we get into the truth with the story of the child, right? The story of the child that I had a chance to hear this story of this child who looked at his dad and saw that his dad suffered from a sickness, and that his grandparents had already passed away, and his great aunt was on her way out. He looked at the world that he lived in, and what he saw was that sickness was natural. Sickness was an inevitable part of life, versus looking at health being a natural way that our bodies were designed to be healthy. My question for you, Dr. Tracy, as we get into the truth here is, can you explain why it's considered normal to be healthy despite what the world is trying to teach us right now, and abnormal to be sick? And how does this perspective should it reshape our approach to health?
Always, always. And God says the truth will set you free. So we want the truth. And with that, we get indoctrinated from when we're born. I mean, I can liken this to my brand new grandchild, almost 5 months. Woohoo. And I mean, I watched that medical community start talking about, okay, we need to do this, and this as she's born. And we're like, but why? She's perfect as she comes out. We're perfect. There's no intervention. God's put that life force in us, and we're perfect. We just have to get that expression out. And so when things happen, and I'm going to say, starting with a child, ear infections, well, there's got to be a reason why. So medical doctors look at that sickness, and they call it health care. It's not. It's crisis care. You come in with a sickness. You don't come in because you're healthy. And we want to see people who are healthy. And what does that mean? Your body may express a fever. That's healthy. There's a reason for that fever. So your body's fighting it. Your body's fighting a virus that you've been exposed to. That's a healthy thing to do. And so we want to help you know that the power that made the body, it can heal the body. We are meant to heal. Think about, you get a cut on your finger, and do you need to think about, okay, now my body has to lay down white blood cells to clean that cut out? Does it have to lay down thrombin to help start closing that cut? Do I have to think about the scab that's developed? No. Our bodies are made to heal, but we've got to give it the right tools. And that's what we do. We're not saying take this drug, because that's not the right tool. Natural healing, allowing the body to heal itself, is the right tool.
Come on. And I want to build on that, because you just said the power that made the body has the power to heal the body. And that we believe that God made this body, right? But we also believe that he put a power inside of us. And some refer to it as a magnificent intelligence. Some call it innate intelligence. And for some of our listeners, they've heard that on and off. But I want to build on question number one and talk about the concept of the body's innate intelligence and how it can and should influence the way that we treat and care for ourselves daily. Talk about innate intelligence for a second.
So innate, fancy word, you're like, what's innate? That's natural, internal. It's inborn wisdom inside of us that knows what to do. It knew where to put our heart. It knew to put our eyes here and our ears here. That's the innate intelligence. Some people call it the Holy Spirit. But innate intelligence is in all living things. It's not in a rock. It's not. But it's in all living things because it's sustaining life. Breathing, excretion, reproduction, healing. It's all a part of it.
Love that. You just mentioned a few of the systems that God has put in our body. And so we see as innate intelligence as this thing we don't have to think about, right? Even scientists are trying their best to quantify and figure out exactly how it works. And it's such a magnificent intelligence that we don't have as good a grip on it as we'd like. But we can look at our bodies and see the systems that God's put in our bodies. And we're getting ready to talk about the nervous system. One thing that I heard just last week was, you think about what controls the blood that moves through your body, right? You have a circulatory system, you have a digestive system, right? You have an immune system, but you also have something in your body that regulates stress, right? And a lot of people don't recognize it as such, but that's the nervous system, right? So I want to talk for a second about why the nervous system is referred to as the master system of the body, right? And what role does it play in maintaining overall health? Let's talk about the nervous system.
So the nervous system is our electrical system. It's the signal that comes from our brain, down our spinal cord, out our nerves to our body. It's our communication system. And if you're in a home, in an apartment where you live, you have your circuit breaker in your garage or in your kitchen. And so if that circuit breaker, that main switch is turned off, is anything going to work? No, it's not. You could flip a light switch and it's not going to turn on. So that's the same thing here. We've got to flip the switch or the circuit breaker, get it started, and then the communication happens. Now, that's what's happening in our body. If our brain is garbled, if our communication system isn't right here, and then it comes down our spinal cord, we're going to be in trouble. And then we're going to get into subluxation, and we could just jump right into that. When that bone is out of alignment, that subluxation, the nerves come out, those nerves come out beside those bones. And if that subluxation, even a millimeter, 5 millimeters, it'll disrupt the communication. So it's, again, the breaker box sending those signals out those nerves or those lines. And if there's fraying on one of the electrical lines in your home, it's going to work sometimes, and sometimes it's not going to work. And you're like, what's wrong with that plug? Well, it could be it's interfered with from an outside force.
And you saying that, I want to look at the next question as more of a statement, because I think you just answered the next question, and that's just to understand how brilliant the body was designed. We have a brain, and we understand the brain, one of the most important things in our body. God gave us a skull to protect that brain, right? We also have the extension of the brain, which runs down through the spinal cord. And God, in his infinite wisdom, said we need to protect that spinal cord with the spine, right? And so as chiropractors, a lot of times it's understood you're working on the spine, but ultimately you're working on the thing that protects this nervous system that we're talking about, right? And so as I'm thinking about, which we're going to get into the subluxation conversation, but before we get there, I think we need to talk about stress, right? That life is incredibly stressful, and that stress has a negative impact on our body. The question is, how does modern life contribute to increased stress levels, right? And what are the implications of this stress on our physical health? We're like 10,000 feet now, right? We've come down just a little bit. We're almost to the dirt, but we're coming down. Talk about stress for a minute.
Well, there's different types of stresses. We've got our emotional stress. That's when we think about stress on our body, is that emotional stress. Death of a loved one, sickness in our family, financial woes. There's multiple layers to that. But there are chemical stresses. We've got bombardment by pesticides in our food, and our food that's genetically modified, that our bodies aren't made to process. And we have the physical stresses, accidents, repetitive motions, sitting all day, being at a desk and our posture gets pushed down, looking at our cell phones like this. That's a physical stress on our necks throughout our whole body. So it's obviously negative impact on our nervous system, on our brain, on our mental health. It all goes together as far as the subluxation as far as the subluxation is concerned.
Perfect segue right there. Subluxation. I know a lot of our listeners would say, I've heard that word before. And even some of your patients, I'm sure in your table talk or as you continue to educate, you probably pop quiz them every now and then. Hey, do you remember what a subluxation is? And they're like, remind me. And so we get a moment right here to say, hey, Dr. Tracy, what is a subluxation? And how does it interfere with the body's ability to regulate and heal itself?
So the subluxation, like I was saying before, we have our brain, we have our skull, we have the individual vertebra that run down. And on my Facebook page, Healing Hands Chiropractic, I did last year and the beginning of this year, Journey Through the Spine. And I talked about every vertebra of the spine and how if there's a misalignment, millimeter misalignment of one of those vertebrae, it's going to interfere with the communication. So subluxations are choking off life. They're choking off the communication that's happening from here, down here, out to the body, externally, but internally as well. We think of the pain, but it's affecting our organs. Say you have a subluxation here in this upper back, where a lot of ladies get that hump. Those nerves go to our heart and lungs. So it's going to affect our heart and lungs. So many people are diagnosed with AFib right now. And I'm like, Look at this. I mean, cell phone like this. Where is that stress? Right there, right there.
So what you're saying is, stress can be caused. There's emotional stress, chemical stress, physical stress, you know, big accidents that are easy to look at, but even in the day to day, the way that you sit, the way that you stand, the way that you drive in your car, we talked about that, right? Macro, micro traumas to the body. I love and I don't love it, but the truth is everything causes stress. So how does someone know, and this is like maybe a loaded question, but how does someone know if they have a subluxation? Is there a way for someone to identify in themselves, oh, I have a subluxation. Like, oh, I feel some pain. Is that a subluxation? How does somebody know that they have a subluxation?
You don't. I wish there was a better answer than that, but you don't. I'm going to go back to my brand new granddaughter. Her birth process was pretty traumatic. I watched them pull her out of my daughter-in-love, and they turned her neck and pulled her out of her. And I watched that and I went, oh, her neck, her neck, her neck, her neck, her neck. And of course they're protecting the neck. They're holding it. But just that turn caused a subluxation at C1. Now, did Adeline say, I'm in pain, I'm in pain? Or did she cry? I mean, babies cry, but why was she crying? She was hungry or whatever. But right from the get-go, she only had her head turned one way. She couldn't turn her head the other way. So I was checking her 12 hours later and felt that she had a subluxation. So you don't know. It doesn't cause pain. So you got to get checked. Everybody has to get checked for subluxations. So don't wait until you're in pain. And most people do, unfortunately, because it's the red light of our car. Hey, something's wrong. Well, I love it when patients come in and it's preventative maintenance. They have no pain and they're like, I just want to stay healthy. And I'm like, oh, yay, I love that.
It really is. So you got to get checked. You have to get yourself into the presence of someone who is trained to identify subluxation and adjusting correct. And we're going to talk about that. But I think this image comes to mind that I think a lot of people can relate with, right? You think pain, so I must have a subluxation. Well, subluxation is known as the silent killer, right? Subluxation is the thing that you don't feel that can lead to the pain down the road. It's like a cavity, right? As soon as my tooth starts hurting, it's not indication of cavity. It's indication that cavity has now reached a nerve and is now causing pain because it's gotten so bad, right? A lot of times, and that's why you have to go to the dentist to identify a cavity, to have your teeth checked the same way, right? And so if you are wondering, oh, I think I feel a subluxation, it's probably not the subluxation you're feeling, right? You need to go get checked, and you need to go check before you feel that pain. So I want to know, though, so let's say they come to you, Dr. Tracy, and they don't know what's going on in their body, but you check them and you identify subluxations. Once it's identified, what steps should a person take to address it and restore proper function, and maybe something that you do while they're under your care?
So obviously get adjusted. You can't self-adjust. People say, oh, I move and it pops. Yeah, you don't know what you're popping, and it's just gases being released. We debunk that in our myths. But you have to find someone that's trained. You've got to find someone, obviously, that specializes in the spine, a chiropractor, and someone who you feel comfortable with. And I'm not saying Healing Hands might be right for you. If you're in our area, we'd love to see you. But we analyze, we see where that bone is misaligned, the communication is not happening, and then we restore it. Now, some chiropractors do manual manipulation. You hear that pop. We use an instrument, a handheld instrument that puts a force, so it's gentle to move that bone into place. We're in an older population here, or senior population, and so I wouldn't twist and turn someone's neck. I wouldn't do that. We use the instrument called the activator. So it's finding someone you feel comfortable with that you know can correct your issues.
Love that. And then what you're doing is you're removing the interference and you're restoring the body's ability to regulate and heal itself. Who doesn't want that? I mean, I want that 24/7, 365. I want my body always in the mode that says, if something's hurting, my body's healing it. Well, how do I do that? I've got to remove the interference. Anything that's blocking the flow of that healing, I want it to be gone. And chiropractors are masters at that. And I love for you, Dr. Tracy, that this is bigger than just the day-to-day. This is mission for you. And I wanted to take a second to talk about mission, because I want to hear about your mission, right? As a chiropractor, how has that guided your approach to patient care? And what does that look? What is your why? What is the reason why you still continue to show up a quarter century in and help people get healthy? How would you articulate your mission, Dr. Tracy?
So I have a personal mission statement and then an office mission statement. And with that, I'll give you my personal. Most people don't know my personal mission statement, but God has given me the ability to speak life and healing to others, and using my hands, using the voice He has given me. So that's my personal mission statement.
Love
and
it.
to be a blessing unto others. And so our office mission statement is changing the healthcare of our world. And we do that one spine at a time, one spine at a time, every day.
Come on. And I know that patient education is a huge part of your mission. Obviously, you've invested in getting your voice out there, and I love it because people are hearing it, people are encouraged, and we know that without knowledge, we lose the ability, we lose power. Without knowledge, we can't have power. But knowledge activated, which is what you're doing through your education and through your care, is empowering a community. So why, though, is patient education such a crucial part of chiropractic care? And how do you ensure that your patients understand their role in health and healing? Because chiropractic is not a done for you, act of health. It is a done with you, right? There's the chiropractor's part, right, which is to identify subluxation, remove interference, so the body can heal and regulate. But there's also the job of the patient. So long question to say, why is patient education so crucial in chiropractic care?
Well, we addressed it in the beginning. From the beginning of life, people are indoctrinated to the medical model that when you have this sickness, you take this drug. That's what they know. They're bombarded every day on TV, advertisement everywhere. It's, you're sick, you take this drug. Well, we have to educate. We have to change the mindset of others, because again, they don't realize the power that made the body can heal it if it's given the right tools. So by education, which always doing, every visit with a patient, I'm always educating them, because we're reprogramming them for a different paradigm, a different way of thinking of this is the way it should be, not the way you've been going or the way you've been educated. And I'm not blaming them, because that's our society. That's the way it is. But we've got to keep spreading the message, spreading the message, spreading the message.
And to your point, doctors aren't the only ones trying to educate. We have, every one of us has friends, family, coworkers, teammates, classmates, teachers. Maybe you do have some doctors in your life, but all trying to educate. And where we want to give everyone the benefit of the doubt is that we really do believe that everyone's doing the best they can with what they have. But when you're lacking the knowledge that activated, that really does lead to power, when you're lacking that, the only way to fix it is education, right? The only way to fix it is to share that knowledge. And so for patients of Healing Hands Chiropractic, for folks that are listening to this podcast, we're giving this to you. This is a tool in your kit. And, consider it a responsibility of a responsible person to take this knowledge and share it. Even just sharing this podcast is a really big deal. And so we're thankful for the folks that have done that. I want to wrap up the truth of this podcast with this last question here. How can patients and the community support and contribute to the mission of chiropractic care? I may have just answered that, but I want to give you a chance to speak to it. And why is the collective effort so important?
So if you're in our area, we would love to see you. We analyze you, we sit down, we have a consultation with you, we do an exam, we take x-rays if needed, so we're not guessing with your health, and then we give you a report. We tell you what we're finding and what we can or cannot do to help you. And so if you're not in our area, we can help you find someone that will help you do that as well. But you have to self-empower too. You have to do some research. You have to partner with the chiropractor that you are with, because it's not all them working on you. It's a team effort. And I didn't answer that before, but it's a team effort. So there's things you do at home as well to help the process along.
Absolutely. Like we said, done with you, not done for you. We all have a part to play in our health. And thank you, Dr. Tracy, for taking us from 30,000 feet all the way down to the dirt. We can talk about health in a way that really does change lives. So I love the mission of Healing Hands Chiropractic. I love the mission of Dr. Tracy Rush. It's an honor to get to share the mic with you for a little bit here and there. Want to wrap things up today with a fun question, because dads, I don't know if you would agree with this, Dr. Tracy, but dads can be the hardest people to buy gifts for when it comes around to Father's Day, right? And we're right there at it. I mean, this podcast is coming out right before Father's Day, so there's a little bit of time for us to help some folks that everybody has a dad or knows a dad, right? We want to celebrate dads. The fun question that I have for you, Dr. Tracy, is what is the best gift you've ever given a dad, or your husband, a dad, and what advice, this is two parts, what advice would you give to those looking to do something or give something special to their dads this Father's Day?
So first off, just don't go on Amazon and say, okay, dad gifts.
Yeah.
There's no personability there. There's nothing. Yeah. You have to know the person. You got to know their interest and what motivates them. So for my dad loved words of encouragement. I know that was one of his gifts or his love languages. And so from what I remember, making him cards and just pouring out my heart, telling him what he means to me. For my husband, just spending time with him, just being there with him, doing something fun with him is what he wanted, is what he wants. And so just doing it from your heart, not picking up something at the store, but doing something from your heart.
Wow, you just set a high bar, Dr. Tracy. It is easy to go on Amazon and say gifts for dads and just see what pops up and buy it. And I've got a dad who literally won't say anything, and my mom will just say, you just get him some golf balls, And so we always try to do that, right? We try to say, what is he spending his time doing? What does he seem to really enjoy, and how can we support that? Because it may not be. It may not cost that much money. It might be more of if we just put the thought into it to let him know that we really appreciate him. So hopefully that helps everybody out there who's looking for dad gifts. But we just had fun today going down the road of health. And again, we're going to keep this platform going because we value you being empowered. And education is what does that. So thanks for joining us. Make sure that you like and subscribe. Let everybody know that if they're looking for the message, here it is. Share it with them. And that's a way that you can let them know that you care about them as well. So thank you, everybody, for joining us for the Healing Hands Chiropractic Podcast. Dr. Tracy, always a pleasure. And we'll see you guys on the next episode.
Yes, we love and appreciate you. Thank you.